And here we go. Recording in progress. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Team Wilpers. This is Coach Lorri here. Um, I coach the Peloton cycling programs, and with me today are Amy Murphy and Brent Hacker, both in Seattle. And I just asked them if they'd met each other before, and they said no, in real life. But they have been volunteering as group leads with us on the Team Wilpers Cycling Challenges, and also just shared an experience, kind of, sort of, not exactly the same experience, of preparing for and training for Seattle to Portland, also known as STP, which is a 1 or 2 day ride of about 200 miles in duration. And that was just this last weekend. So I asked them if they would come on and talk about their experience. So thank you both for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Um, Gosh, so what is STP? Tell me, this is whenever you do something crazy, which I'll call this crazy, right? What inspires you to do this? Why would you choose to do an event like this?
Go
Um,
for it, Amy.
well, for me, this was an event that my family has done for decades. My uncle Toby and my mom and my uncle Ron used to do it every year. And this past year, my uncle passed away. And
Condolences.
and so I wanted to do the ride to kind of honor him and his memory. So that was really why I did it.
And did any of your other family members do it as well?
Nope, no,
Just
it was
you this
just
year.
me. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he was very proud of you. Yeah. How about you, Brent? Why did you decide to do this event?
So I had when we lived in Seattle the first time, so we lived here from 2014 to 2021. I had a bunch of friends that I used to ride the train in with, and we would all meet up at the train station and then ride our bikes together. And a group of them did the STP, and it was always one of those on my list of I want to do this, I want to do this, but I didn't really have like the train. You have 1,000 excuses on training, timing, things like that. We moved back here. So we moved back to Seattle in November of 24, and the first thing I said to my wife Christina was, "I'm doing the Seattle to Portland ride next year." Little him and haw. There was back and forth debate between the two of us, but I just decided, hey, if this group did it and they had a lot of fun, then I want to see what I can do, pull a team together for work. So we had initially had 8 of us sign up to do it. That dropped off as got closer, but wanted to do it with a team and found a group that did it. And I'll say we had 5 of us that started and 4 finished.
Oh, what happened to the fifth?
I was the 5th.
Oh, yeah. Did you start?
I did. I met the team at the line. We got our picture at the line, and I did about the first quarter mile, and then peeled off and did my north end of Lake Washington loop. So.
Got it. Now, we can't just leave it hanging like that. Why did you not do the event?
So,
I mean, you don't
I
have to go into the gory details or.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
There was a minor health issue with my wife that did not allow her to drive. She was actually my support. She was my SAG car, so support and gear car.
Yeah.
And because of that, uh, she said I can wear 2 glasses, sunglasses over my glasses. She had a friend that was like, hey, I can drive you down there and just better. And I said, I really appreciate everything that you're trying to do to get me to this point. It's better if you stay at home. It's better if both of us stay at home. I can take care of you. We had a really sunny, hot weekend. Stay in the shade, stay in the apartment, hang out with the dog. It will always be there next year. So I actually gave my helmet sticker to one of my teammates to take across the line. And when I saw him, yeah, yeah. So my number, part of my registration made it across the line. When I saw him Monday, he goes, well, the unfortunate thing is all the numbers rubbed off because of the sweat in my back pocket.
Oh, oh, because you hit
Yeah,
the they were in
Yep.
spot. Yeah. It's
yeah. So
there's an event up here that is the same day as STP, which is probably one of the reasons why I haven't done it. And it's called the Death Ride. And it's about 125 miles with 15,000 feet of climbing. So it's mountain passes. And you have to get a sticker at each of the passes as you finish. And it's actually kind of funny because they give you at the beginning of the pass, they assume you're going to get through it, I guess. And if you don't get all the stickers, it used to be 5 passes, it's now considered 6 passes because they've changed the route. You don't get the little pin that says you finished, which is like just this piece of cheap enamel pin, but you don't get the pin. And yeah. And so one year I did it with a boyfriend and we finished and he had lost a sticker and he was very upset. And they finally gave in and they gave him a pin, but then he lost the pin. So after you finish 100 and whatever miles, you still have to ride back to the start, which is another, I don't know, 13, 14 miles, mostly downhill, but there's one little stinker in there. And so he lost the pin and he was very upset. And so I had to reach out to the ride director and say, hey, trust me on this, but can I get another pin? So I understand about things in sweaty pockets, but how long has STP been going on? Do you know?
Since 1979.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
girl. She did
So
her homework. Maybe
yeah,
the
I
other one.
think that was the first year that my uncle did it with my mom.
Oh, what a
Actually,
legacy.
they did it the first year, I think.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it's not a race. How many people
No.
participate typically?
Oh shoot, they had over 6,000 registered. They actually capped registration. I think what, Amy, on Tuesday or Wednesday, they sent out the email saying they can't take any more late registrations because they were full. So
Right.
it was
Yeah, this was the
6,000
first year
plus.
that they sold out. Yeah, since
Since
like
pandemic.
2019, I think.
Yeah. The pandemic changed a lot of events. It became harder to get permits and events lost their momentum. And I also think there's a lot more events. And so you have this same, not everybody is going to do a 200-mile ride or the death ride or whatever. And so the people that do these harder, more epic events, it's a limited audience. And they're spread out on more events now. And I think gravel also, since we have so many gravel events, have diluted that pool of people as well. So some of these big, huge events aren't selling out that always used to. But 6,000 people. Do you all start at once?
They have a corral that they send waves of people out through. So it kind of depends on if you're planning on doing the single day or the 2 day. They'll send out the single day riders first.
Right. So single day, you get to choose where you stop. I've heard people do like 100 or 125, or is that true?
Yeah, the 2 day you can stop. There's an official stop in Centralia, which is at like a mile 103
Okay.
from there. And there's a school, they've got food and things like that. And then once people get to that, then they can decide if they want to keep going. And then there's many stops along the way afterwards. So that was actually a debate with my team was, are we going to stop in Centralia or do we do more miles the first day so we have less miles to do the second day?
Yeah.
Um, we ended up deciding the back-to-back centuries was going to be our thing. So Centralia was the stop for the team then.
Oh, awesome. And then where does everyone sleep? If they sleep, because we know that Amy didn't sleep. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But where does everyone sleep when they do this event? Do they camp or do they get hotels or?
It's really sorry, Amy, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
Um, uh, uh, we're a little fancy. We actually had a hotel that I actually put one of my teammates' name on the reservation, so he got to use the hotel. Just a little bit south of Centralia. A lot of people camped. One of the stories from one of the people that camped on the team was, I woke up every hour because there was a freight train going by, and I
Oh,
knew I still had to do another 100 miles the next day. So a lot of people camp. I've heard one of the schools opens up their gym so people can sleep in it. The hotels are really good about the STP, but they also sell out very quickly.
mhm. So if you know you're going to do it, because it's always the same weekend in July, right? The second weekend, I think, right? Book your hotel now. I bet they jack the prices up too. They always do stuff like that. The
This
$60 hotel room is now a $400 hotel room. So you have the choice of doing it in one day or 2 days. Now, Amy, you chose to do it in one day.
Well, I had gone into it prepared to do it into my hope was to get to at least Kelso, which was about the 160-mile marker.
16 or
But
16?
60,
Okay.
160. But yeah, my body felt really solid. So
Yeah. The disadvantage of doing things over multiple days is the second day you end up with more fatigue, whereas if you keep going, right, DOMS can occur and all the little niggles. I run that ride I was talking about, the death ride. I run a camp that's a 3-day camp, and it's harder in some ways because you split the whole ride up over the course of 3 days instead of doing it in one day. Um, yeah. So what does training look like for this? We rode our
well,
Peloton,
yeah,
right?
well, yeah. So for at least for me, I'm not sure. Brent, I'll go first. Um, but it was primarily indoor, and I incorporated both endurance and higher intensity days. And then also cross training was really important. So adding walk jogs, rowing, running, strength training, was really important to complement my work on the bike. And then kind of squeezing in mobility and yoga as well. Um, Plugging in the high and low cadence work, in and out of the saddle work. And then one day a week I would do my outdoor riding.
Mhm.
So some of these rides are really focused on riding for longer periods of time without a whole lot of elevation. And then others were really about getting that elevation gain in and really practicing climbing and descending, and really getting used to the heat was really important. So getting my body accustomed to being on the open road at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but also getting used to riding at different times of the day. So I knew I was going to want to do my largest volume early in the morning. So I trained for that. And then I would also add lower intensity miles or work in the afternoon just to teach my body that basically after that larger block in the morning, we were still going to have something that we needed to do.
Right.
And then I practiced riding in urban areas and rural environments. So I tried to get used to kind of having to stop and go and stop and go at the stoplights, and then having to kind of mentally get in the zone when you're on a country road that doesn't have anything around it. There's nothing to
Right.
distract you. Just kind of have to focus on what you're doing. And then practicing some of the mechanical stuff. So like I got a flat tire in training for the first time, which was perfect because I saw it before the event. So
Yeah.
those
Was that
all
your
those
first
things.
flat?
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long
And
did it take you to repair that?
so a lot of firsts in training, which was
How
really
long did it
exciting.
take you to change your first flat? Or do you run tubeless?
Well, I actually had an angel that came and helped me. So he literally was coming up the hill as
Yeah.
I got the flat, and he essentially gave me a clinic on how to change a tire, and it was
It's awesome.
my rear tire right there, um, and helped me kind of learn how to finagle the derailleur, and it was just really great. It was awesome to learn that in real time.
Cycling people are awesome. And I think I always tell people, even if you can't change a flat, oftentimes nowadays we have somewhere we can call a lift or a friend or whatever, so you can get home. Um, have what you need, have the tools, have the spare tube, have all the stuff. Because if you're riding somewhere where other people ride bikes, someone will help you. Yeah, I teach bike maintenance classes, and I had a girl co-teaching with me years ago, and it was her first time teaching, and we have this 20-step process of changing a flat. And she said, step one, unzip your zipper and show a little cleavage. I was like, really? Okay. I know. Shh, don't let Matt know I said that. But it's true. Bike people are great people. Someone wrote me a Yelp review once because I changed their flat for them. They didn't have any of the stuff they needed. Um, yeah. Now, let me ask you another question, Amy, and then we'll talk about your training a little bit, Brent. Um, you were very methodical in this, and you did a lot of things that people don't think about, especially indoor riders, right? We don't think about how to acclimatize to heat, or the fact that we're going to ride in urban settings and rural settings, and that elevation matters outside, wind matters outside. Did you coach yourself? Did you have someone guiding you through this process?
I think, to be honest, I had several different resources helping me, and my family's experience helped me as well. And I think, the challenges that Team Wilpers put on and the Power Zone programs that Matt has created, and his Build Your Base program came out at the perfect time. There were so many different pieces and different people jumping in and helping. I think all of those different resources were really critical to having a really awesome experience and performance, and something that it just taught me so much. I think the foundation was there, so I didn't have to really worry about that during the event.
That's awesome. I was thinking Chat GPT, right? You just go on Chat GPT and say, hey, I want to ride 200 miles. What do I need to do? And it probably would give you some good advice, probably some bad advice.
I do not like Chat GPT at all.
Well, there's thing, I mean, it comes up now if you do a Google search, Gemini is their product. And there are things about it that I think are great because it will conglomerate information from the internet. And there are things I think that are awful because it will conglomerate information from the internet, right?
Yeah.
And it's
blessing and a curse.
right. And it's based on ratings and that. And, in the sports world, in the fitness world, the health world, the bike fit world, whatever, there is a lot of contradicting information out there. There's a lot of bad information out there. I always jokingly say anyone with an iPhone can be an expert at bike fit because they can record something and make it sound like it makes sense. But yeah, so you were very methodical. That was awesome. Is there anything you would do different in your training?
Honestly, I think thanks to you and a few other Matt, you all really advised me to take a rest day.
Yeah.
And I really have a hard time with that, but I did take like a lighter day every week, and I do think in the future I would prioritize that, because I do think it helps you perform better on the days where you're really trying to go harder when you're supposed to go hard, and then easier when you're supposed to go easier.
Yeah.
So
It's my run coach helped me with that a lot because I had a hard time running easy, and I also have a hard time taking a day off because I like to move. But usually I'll have like work, which isn't really a day off, But when we started doing work at the track, that's when it really clicked for me. He's like, I don't care about your recoveries. You could walk, you could stand, you could do whatever you want. All I care about is that you hit your targets for, this 3 minutes and this 3 minutes and this. And I was like, oh, okay. So it is easy. You're not gaining anything in the easy. You're recovering in the easy. And so the easier you go, the better it is. But yeah. What was your total or average training volume each week? How many hours did you train? Because it sounds like a lot.
oh gosh, I didn't really look at my hours too closely. It was kind of more of my mileage and my my training load that way. I kind of did a progressive overload with my mileage. And then because there were some weeks where maybe I would need an extra 45 minutes of yoga, or I would need, so I didn't break it down really by, the time I was spending cycling or the time I was spending, doing those other modalities that were really contributing to my training.
Yeah. Progressive overload. For those of you who don't know, what does that mean? Well, it's what we do in our challenges typically, right? So we're going to build some fitness and build some more fatigue and then take a break. And then we come back and we're probably going to lift that first step up a little bit. And it's a really good way to train and build in some recovery. And depending on the amount of overload and where you are in your training cycle, you may find that you get what we call super compensation, which only really happens with rest. So rest is good, Amy. And it's an extension. Like in the outdoor world, when we go into a block of super compensation, we do a really hard, longer block of long, 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 or hard, 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 hard. And then we take maybe 2 days off or 2 days off and 1 day easy and then go back into training. And then the body can soak up all that fitness. So yeah. Brent, what did your training look like? Why did you do this event? Tell us your story.
Um, moving back, moving back to Seattle, wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Really got into the training. Peloton really like helped guide a lot of what I wanted to do, and I noticed myself taking longer and longer rides. I've looked at my stats, and it was like I did 30-minute rides, and I thought those were long, and then it was like Matt has said, like now it's up to 120 minutes, and it's like, okay, cool. Well, what can I do longer than 120 minutes? Well, this makes sense. So the training for me, a lot of it was also indoor. I do have a day job that helps sponsor my habit. It was predominantly mornings because that's when I can get into it. So it was like even backing up, how can I squeeze in an extra hour? How can I squeeze in an extra 15 minutes sometimes during the day? And then reserving, like we've talked about sometimes in the past, is reserving the weekends for longer rides, outdoor rides. Once the weather broke here in Seattle, I was actually looking up our first outdoor ride was in April,
Yeah,
and we did.
I remember it was pretty late.
It was late, but that's also when like I don't believe in fenders, so and I'm too old to be riding in the rain. So it was the first like decent weekend.
Yeah.
Um, so um, that, and we did 55 miles that first weekend all the way around Lake Washington. So if you look at a map of Seattle, the body of water to the east is the large body of water is Lake Washington. And the thing that really clicked for me on that was I get home from that and been gone for about 4.5, 5 hours to get that in there. And my wife looks at me and goes, "You barely look like you worked. Are you sure you even rode your bike?" I was
That's fun.
like, I can do this.
Yeah.
The big thing, in addition to what Amy was talking about with a lot of the indoor work, the climb ride was huge, or the climb challenge was huge, because that actually did teach me like, don't just rely on the gear and and try and slog through it. Try and keep your RPM up as high as possible.
Mhm.
Something that even as a mountain biker, like I didn't even think about, because it was always that slog, grind, grind, grind. The other thing that really kicked into was when I asked the coaches in group leads here, hey, how do you fuel 200 some calories in a bottle? And getting the right product and really diving into that research. Because we did use we're a group of engineers back in January, and that's what I was looking up. We did calculate that you would need approximately 34 to 42 Cliff Bars to make the ride.
Yeah.
And the Chat GTP actually did say, or I don't know what AI this person used, said a more balanced approach would be 8 to 10 Cliff Bars. Which the comment was, I can't imagine how many I've eaten in the past 30 years, but I'm getting nauseous thinking about eating 10 a day.
Yeah.
So, so finding the things that would work. It did experiment with some different products and bottles and different bars that I could pack in my kit. One of the things that struck me like the last week was I also don't like having saddlebags on the side of the bike or a bunch of bags around the bike. Not because of anything, but I'm really used to not having anything and carrying everything with me.
Yeah.
So I did determine I could fit 12 full on 200 some calorie sticks of the powder from Tailwind, and 5 rice protein bars in my kit. Um, so it was okay. How's that going to feel when I get on a ride? And it was like, holy crap, this is different. It's
Yeah.
roughly 5 pounds more weight than I was used to. So it was really that progressive training. The booster base stuff really just kind of helped build that zone 2 that I knew I was going to be sitting at. And then coupling that with the climb challenge to get into those higher zones for longer time period. What I did notice from not doing the STP and doing my half loop is there really was a ton of payoff. I've actually been able to climb quicker up the same hills that wasn't able to climb up in April, or I could always climb them, but faster
Yeah.
now, and actually in different gear while maintaining 80 80 some RPM, going up a 6 to 8% gradient. And then on a flat, just feeling normal. I I did install power meters on my bike. So one of the big benefits from this weekend, even though I didn't do the STP, was I got to play with some new toys.
Okay.
And Lorri did very much teach me you need to calibrate these things, because I sent her a text on Saturday. I was like, something's not right here, because it was showing like a normalized power like 360 some watts, and I'm
Right.
like, cool, I'm going to France next year. Forget the STP. I'll be on a 21-day ride.
Yeah.
And resetting and calibrating showed like, and it actually did. What was interesting is the normalized power in the outside was very close to the normalized power on a lot of Z3 rides, or Z3 heavy rides. So the training on the endurance side of things, and even on the power side of things and generating more power, was really close to what I'm able to do outside. So now it's with a ton of hay left in the barn that I haven't burned up yet. Now what can I do next year?
Right. Normalized power is an interesting concept too, because if you live somewhere where you have elevation changes, you're going to have less power output when you're going downhill, you're more when you go uphill. And so getting to a point where your normalized power and your average power are very close, that's actually a good thing, because it says, wow, I'm making power on my descents, I'm making power on my flats. Yeah, because on the Peloton, you're making power all the time, right? So yeah, so that's a big difference. Yeah, I know. It was funny. I was like, you sure that's calibrated?
No, I don't
Okay.
know.
So see, even outdoor power meters can be not calibrated correctly. We know that. Um, Big lessons for either of you. What would you do differently for next year? Well, first of all, you thinking about doing it again? Amy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really fun. But
So you were, and I was shocked when I asked Amy this, your longest ride prior to this outdoors was,
just a little over 80 miles
okay,
outside.
but you have a history with ultra endurance.
Yes, yeah. I did also complete an ultra marathon this year. So
And what was your
um
longest outdoor run before that ultra marathon? You
that
see a
was
picture
actually that was actually much longer.
here?
It was I think it was like 27 of the 31 miles or
Okay.
32 miles I ran for my ultra. It was actually probably a little bit longer than it should have been.
Yeah.
But I think each event has taught me something different, and it's really helped me to grow quite a bit. But this event specifically came with a lot of lessons. I mean, the imperative of proper training. So, when mile 170 or 180 hits, I still felt really strong and ready to continue, because I'd put in the time and work for
Mhm.
months to really endure a long day in the saddle. And really incorporating the heat training and practicing transitions, with my family, and
Yeah.
dialing in the nutrition and hydration pieces. All of those were really critical to being successful. Another lesson I learned was just the power of a group, because I'd never really ridden in a group before. And right outside of Seattle, there was the first rest stop at about mile 17 or 18. And I had told myself I wasn't going to stop for very long there, because I was hoping to get to either Puyallup or Spanaway, which was either mile 42 or 56 before stopping. So I'd taken a snack there really quick and then jumped back on the road. And I left the rest stop and started going. And I noticed that there was this huge group of riders right behind me. And I'm like, I think I'm leading a poll right now. What is this? And
Oh, so they were
so
right on your heel.
yep. So there were about 12 of them in a line. And so I kind of hunkered down on aero bars, which I had never used before, but I was like, I'm gonna need to just see, I just need to see how this feels because I might need to try a different posture on the bike. Just, just need to see if I can do this. And so I hunkered down on my aero bars and I held a pretty substantial pull. So we get to the stoplight and the group kind of comes around me and this guy pats my back and goes, "That was an awesome pull." And I was like, "Thanks." And then the light changed color. And then the coolest thing happened. They started to ride, but they absorbed me into their group.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to pull anymore. And so I was in the middle of this group and it was like this unspoken just respect and mutual understanding. And I got to go ride with them for all the way to Spanaway. They held me in the middle of their group.
And that's a huge benefit to energy expenditure.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I immediately saw the difference. And it was just really humbling to see their leads keep the pace and take turns pulling. And I could definitely see the difference between the groups that agreed not to drop folks and then the groups that were really laser focused on kind of keeping the pace. But that was just a really special experience for me. And in turn, I think, this happened more than once throughout the ride with different groups, but it taught me a lot about the benefits of being with a group, but then also realizing when I needed to pull away from the group in order to really do well. So there was an example where they wanted to continue on the road, but I needed to be in the shade. And so I pulled off and I went down this really cool tree tunnel that I hadn't even known existed before I got to it. Or there was a time where I wanted to move faster than the group. And so I had to kind of just leave and keep going. Yeah, but there were so many lessons. I mean, just a few more. Never underestimate yourself, or let others tell you what you are or are not capable of, because there were a lot of people that didn't think I could do it in a day, and I didn't let Yeah, and I didn't let their expectations of me define my abilities. I just listened to my body, and I had faith in myself, and it let me achieve so much more than I ever thought I could achieve going into it, or, even other people thought I could do. And it really took a lot of active listening and just awareness to really see that even in the small moments of, that entire experience, like my body was telling me what it could do as long as I stayed mentally open to it and I didn't limit myself. So, and then also having fun was really important.
As a coach too, when you're trying to encourage someone to challenge themselves. But at the same time, I mean, if you had come to me and said, my longest ride is 82 miles and I'm going to do 200, I'd be like, yeah, that's a little more than that 10 or 15% increase that we might suggest, right? And you don't want to discourage someone. Now, the other thing, though, is you have a very high training volume and you also have the brain that sustained you through an ultra run. And I think a lot of this is mental as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's another big piece, is really realizing that a huge part of this is a mental challenge. And at the same time, I'm someone that tends to stay very focused, but there were people along the way this time around that really reminded me, not like, don't forget to have fun. Like there was this one example. We were right outside of this little town called Vader, and this older gentleman, he was riding solo, but he had this trumpet attached to his water pack on his back. And right outside Vader is this kind of known rest stop on the trip. But right outside of Vader, there's this hill, and it's mile 130. And you're like, why is this hill here? This is not fair, not cool. We're at the bottom, we're starting. This is awesome. And so I get on my bike. I was using at the time, I had a bucket of ice water in my point of service vehicle. And so I had finished wiping myself down with ice water. I tucked another bag of ice in the back of my bra. I was changing those out probably every 10 miles. Started going again, and this guy is there at the bottom of the hill with his bike. And he's like, hold on. And he plays the charge anthem, like the like at the bottom of the hill. And I'm just like, okay, we can totally do this now. And so we charged up the hill and we made it. And it was so much fun. It just made the experience so much better to have, these people there, making light of the hard things too. Like there's a balance between all things, obviously, but
And I
you
think
know,
in the athletic endeavor, especially long events, there is a moment, well, you're going to go through every emotion, right? You're going to love your bike, you're going to hate your bike, you're going to question life choices, all of those things. But um, there are always those moments when you feel high and you feel low. And I think the key to mental toughness is being able to draw on your mantra or remember that experience of the trumpet at the bottom of the hill or that kind of thing and draw on it in the future because that's what's going to help you get through that time. So,
yeah,
yeah,
and definitely really honoring your why and
yeah,
remembering that, and just making sure that the way you ride, the way you treat other people, um, the way you consider other people along the way, it really honors your core beliefs and
mhm,
your principles that you carry with you through training and through life. I think is really important too.
yeah. You can make or break somebody's day by saying a kind word or not.
Yeah.
So, um, Brent, lessons learned.
um, lessons learned. One of the big things that I harp on to the team that I manage and work with is don't have a plan that's so rigid that you can't adjust it to changing circumstances. And there's always going to be something that impacts you out of that you can't control. And accepting that that's going to happen. We always track goals here at work, and so I was tracking my goal. My goal to green was to ride the STP. Well, I keep telling people it's okay to go yellow with a goal as long
Right.
as you can figure out how to get back to green. Um, for me, the path back to green is I'm doing it next year
Yeah.
and training to get ready for it. My goal went red this year because of circumstances beyond my control. But hey, so I adjust the goal. Okay, cool. Instead of doing 207 some miles, I did 66 plus miles and 3,000 foot elevation gain.
The
Cool.
solid ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So well, it was over 2 days. It was over 2 days because I felt, hey, the team's out on Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be out on Saturday and Sunday.
Mhm.
And having that person that was there, in knowing that, hey, despite everything, and part of the reason why she's nervous is she saw me crash last year, pretty bad bike crash in a bike race. No more racing. That's a promise. So group rides, fun rides only. But um, you know, having that person there that's like, hey, I still want to find a way for you to accomplish this goal to help you get to this point, and just said, hey, listen, no, the important thing is you, and really. We always you hear people say family is number one and family is your center point. And family can have many different shapes and forms. So taking care of that is number one priority first, because to what Amy said, that's my center point. And if my center is not taken care of, like if I just decide, okay, yeah, I'm just going to crank through a day and then drive home that night, it doesn't do anybody a service. So goal changed. Was I disappointed? No. Okay, that's a thing. That's what happened. Really appreciate it. But the important thing is that it wasn't anything major, well on the way to recovery, and maybe negotiated a higher temperature limit for next year.
Well, and one of the things I always coach folks is, so first of all, a placement should never be your goal. Getting first or second or third place. That should never be your goal. You could have a time-based goal, but because you can't control everything, right? That we can only control the things that we can control. And so if I can make those process goals, right? So I know I can do my training. I can train my gut so my nutrition is good. I can do my research and try all the different things, right? I can get some heat acclimatization. I can do all the stuff. My race week can be good. My event week can be good. I can get to the start line on time. I can make sure I have the right clothing. I can do all of these things. I can pace. And then I can't control other things. I can't control the weather. I can't control the other people there. I can't control, that's about it. I guess I control everything else, but that's a good thing, right? I'm sure there's other uncontrollables, but yeah. So control the things you can, and then it's a success. We always say there is no failure in athletic endeavor. There is success and there's learning, right? So I can get all of these goals out of the way. And ultimately, if I tick enough boxes, my ultimate goal will happen. So that's, I think, probably one of my important lessons. Yeah. And the other thing we always say in racing is have a plan. The plan will fail. Um, but no, the plan is only as good as the starting line, and the plan will change because everything else is dependent on that, or your plan is dependent on everything else, I should say. So all the other people there, all the other things that happen. So you have to be flexible. So that's a good lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's
you took all this knowledge and training this year that next year you're going to do better.
yeah. I mean, maybe I'll ride Seattle to Portland and then turn around the next day and go Portland to Seattle, so I can make it a. Maybe that should be the challenge. I'll
Exactly.
double the hay in the barn, double the training.
Or RSVP is another option up there, right?
It
Yeah,
is. Yeah. There's the
Like
obliter
in
ride.
Canada, is that no, is it Canada? Does it go into?
yeah, you got it, Lori. It's Vancouver.
Yeah. So they won't let you into Canada, Brent?
Probably not.
I hear they're pretty strict about it.
Brent would totally rock it.
I
You do
know.
great. You would do great.
Well, I'm super proud of both of you. When you see folks, I love to see people riding outdoors. And I think it is so much more interesting than riding indoors all the time. I mean, riding indoors is great. And for some people, that is what they do. And for some people, riding indoors is their training that allows them to go do other things, to see, to smell, to hear. I mean, think of all the amazing things you smell when you ride bikes, right? Baking cookies or bacon in the
I don't,
morning.
it was pretty cool to ride through some
Yeah.
sprinklers with some other riders.
Risks, you spill
Stop
the
at a
dirt.
water park and jump
Um,
around in my kit with a bunch of kids
yeah,
in the
and
water.
And
badass points.
one of our guys found actually has a picture of him at a bike park on his bike. So it's a BMX bike park, but there he is on his road bike, like cruising around. He's like, they should have added these miles. It wasn't a part of the normal course.
Yeah. So my takeaway for folks from Team Wilpers, I would say, don't be afraid to try something new or something bigger than what you've done before, and you might succeed or you might learn something along the way. And I think that's probably a pretty good note to conclude on, which is, first of all, super proud of both of you. And thank you for all you do for Team Wilpers. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate that very much. Yeah.
Thank
And
you, Lori, for everything.
yeah,
Yes,
you
thank you.
rock. Have a good day.
Bye.